So colleagues, welcome. And my name is Anjali Pandava. I teach English for academic purposes here to mainly PhD students, but to masters as well. And so I'll be hosting this session this afternoon. And I'll be very, very brief about myself and go straight to the speakers. We are already a little bit delayed. And the person you see on the screen is Dr. Iris Danowski. And she will be, well, you know what she'll be talking about, but very briefly. There's an interesting concept that the government decides a central language policy, or that's the impression I get from her abstract, and tries to situate this in the context of internationalization. And she will be telling us about the last such government rectors conference that she had attended. And I might be misunderstanding this, but this is what I get from it. And Iris is the head of the international department of the German Rectors Conference. And she's been working on language policy since 2011 and is a major person in Erasmus. Is that a fair description, Iris?
Yeah, thank you, more or less. I'm not the head of the whole international department, but I'm part of the international department and responsible for cooperation with Latin America, but I'm also responsible for all issues that concern language policy in higher education.
Oh, that sounds more exciting.
Okay, great. So I think I will get started and I will try to share my screen.
Thank you.
I hope that this will work. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about briefly is on what the German Rectors Conference is doing about the issue of language policy for German universities. Just as a very short introduction, the German Rectors Conference is a non-governmental organization, but we're an organization of all German universities, and we are representing them. We're some kind of a political voice of the German universities, but we are also offering a lot of support and service to the institutions of higher education. And within this context, we also approached the issue of a language policy for higher education institutions. And the Assembly of the German Rectors Conference adopted a recommendation on language policy for German universities already almost 10 years ago, and with the goals to increase, on the one hand, the awareness of language policy issues within the higher education sector, but also with the idea to promote a conscious use of different languages in every day of university life. And also with the idea to promote, on the one hand, multilingualism in the scientific community, the academic community within Germany, but also on the international level. But we also had in mind the idea that it is worthwhile to ensure the preservation of German as a language of science, as we are skipping, or as we are using in many occasions, as right now, English as lingua franca. I think it's quite important, or we thought it's quite important also to really raise the awareness that also national languages do play a very important role within the scientific sector. Just to give it a broader context, for us, there's a strong link between internationalization and language policy. The overall objective of the German Rectors Conference is to support universities in a strategically oriented internationalization. And the issue of language policy is part of this internationalization in a strategic manner. Because we think there's a really very strong relation between language policy and internationalization. And we do run audit format on the internationalization of German universities for more than 10 years now, giving advice to specific institutions on how to do better in regard of internationalization. And within the context of this advisory format, we also have the experience that language issues do play, at least not a minor role in internationalization. It's not the focus of the whole process, but it does play an important role within this context. And we also see that there are a lot of interlinkages between internationalization and language policy. So if you want to be successful in these areas, you always need a kind of holistic approach. So, and you need to involve the different levels of the university and the different status groups. And you also have to be aware that internationalization, but also language policy, if you want to really have an institutional approach, it will never be an end in itself, but you always have to think about what is the target behind, what do you want to achieve with this? And you, of course, always have to have in mind that you need a quality-oriented approach. And finally, it's important to have in mind that you cannot rely on patent remedies. You do not have concept that fits for all institutions, but you always need an individual approach for each specific institution. And having this in mind, the German Rectors Conference in 2011, we are implementing different accompanying measures to support this topic of language policy within the institutions, because we found that in 2011, it was really a new topic for German universities. We had some, of course, within the language centers, for instance, there was some awareness on the importance of the topic, but this was not institution-wide conviction. And therefore, we felt the need to really do some marketing for this topic. And therefore, we were organizing, for instance, regular workshops in the frame of larger conferences on internationalization issues, or within other contacts, formats on dialogue with German institutions, to really raise awareness of the topic and to provide a forum for the institutions to discuss these issues and to discuss possible ways on how to approach the issue. And we found that during, or as years were going by, we found that the shift is, the focus is shifting from the general perspective of language policy to more specific issues, such as on how we can really achieve multilingualism in studies and teaching, for instance. And we also tried to link language policy with other relevant topics. Just to mention, for instance, internationalization of curricula, because we think it's within the context of internationalization, the internationalization of curricula is quite an important topic. And you cannot just shift from German teaching to English teaching. This is not internationalization of curricula. So you really have to give it a thought. And on the other hand, of course, using other languages, mainly English, is a logic or a logical solution to do more international or to have a more international approach within the curricula. But on the other hand, you really have to think about other languages, and you also have to think about on how to integrate the language issues within the curricula. So one of our demands is really to have a recognized part of the curriculum dedicated to language courses, for instance. We also did a survey on language policy at German universities in 2017. And of course, we were delighted to find out that our recommendation was well known within the institution and that it was considered helpful. But we still found that there's only a minority of universities that really do have an own language policy. But we also saw that a lot of universities do have a firm interest in drawing kind of language policy guidelines. So we are going on with this idea to foster universities in that regard. We had a very interesting workshop at the beginning of 2018, where we tried to bring together the different levels within the universities to discuss language policy issues on common forum. So we invited the university management level, language center and international offices together with further experts from Germany and Europe to one workshop. And we found that bringing together the different group of stakeholders was really a quite fruitful experience, because many of them, of the participants, later told us that normally they do not have the chance within their universities really to have this dialogue between the different groups of stakeholders. So as we all know that universities are quite huge institutions, it's sometimes challenging really to establish this kinds of dialogue formats where the different groups really can meet and discuss current issues. And therefore it was really very, very fruitful experience. And some of the results of these workshops are shown here. And this also shows why it's so important to get the different groups together, because language really is an emotionally charged topic. So if you deal with language issues, it really requires a great sensitivity. Otherwise, you will get people drawing back and saying, no, please, I don't want to do it. On the other hand, it's clear that language policy is no automatism. So you really need to create awareness and acceptance within the institution. Language centers normally are aware of the necessity to deal with language issues, but in other parts of the institutions, a mathematician, for instance, will always tell you, well, it does not matter to me. Mathematics are internationally understood and I don't need to deal with language issues. But this is not true. So you really need to convince the other parts of the universities, which are not always so convinced. Of course, language policy can never be an end in itself, so you will always need to reflect on why you would like to have it and what would be the benefit for the whole institution. You will always need to convince the university leadership on the necessity to have in language institutions, because only then you will really have this strategic approach to the whole topic. And only then you will have a commitment of the whole institution to this language policy issues. And as said before, you need different approaches. You cannot rely on standard solutions, but you will really need to set in your own institution to discuss the topic with all the different stakeholders and find a solution, an idea, a guideline that really suits to your own institution. You will always need to think on how to involve really all stakeholders, because we also saw that in many cases, for instance, the part of university administration that people tend to not reflect on the part of the university administration within the internationalization process. And therefore, they're also missed out in the issue of language policy. But you need really to think on how to train university administrators in the sense of enable them to deal with their international students and international scientists. And you also will need really to convince them why this is important to the whole institution, therefore also for themselves. Finally, language policy, well, sometimes tends to be approached in an idealistic way, but it's quite important really to think on realistic goals and to consider the available resources within the own institution. So there's no use in having an optimal language policy when you're not able to implement it. And of course, you will also need to consider quality assurance aspects and also the part of sustainability. So once you will have a language policy or some kind of guidelines in this respect, you will also need to think about accompanying measures and really to ensure implementation. So these were some of the most important results of the workshop we had with the different levels of status groups within the universities. And then, of course, there are also some publications that can all be found on the website of the Rectors Conference. You can see the link at the bottom of the chart. And then just a very short outlook on our current activities, because we found out that the legal framework for some kind of language issues is not so clear in Germany. In Germany, we do have the different federal states which are competent for higher education or education in general. And therefore, we do have a lot of different legal frameworks and regulations. And there are also different frameworks within the specific higher education institutions. So this often results in a situation where lots of the actors are not really sure what they may do and what they may not do. For instance, when you try to internationalize a study program by integrating, for instance, modules in English, lots of the professors are not sure whether they're allowed to integrate complete module in English, whether they're allowed to have English exams or whether the students can go against it. And therefore, we are now trying to provide kind of a handout to German universities with the idea to have a more or at least clearer idea on what is really possible and what not. I would have liked to present you already some findings about this topic, but unfortunately, not only due to Corona issues, but also due to the lack of expertise or finding necessary experts on this topic. This is quite challenging. I'm not able to present already some results in this regard, but I very much hope that in the future I will be able to do so. And I can promise that we are going to keep up with the topic, and I'm quite happy to be at this point at least, and to comment on really important success in this regard within German higher education institutions. And I'm of course happy to have your comments on this. So just a final slide. As I told before, it's really a complex issue. It's not a simple one, but I would encourage all interested actors really to give it a try, because I think it's really worthwhile for the whole institution. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to hear questions or comments. Thank you.
Absolutely perfect timing. Thank you very much. I wonder whether Estelle or any of our colleagues here have any questions for Iris after this wonderful sketch across a wide and complex landscape.
Well, actually, if no one else is asking, I do have one question that is, however, a little bit outside of your topic. It's not strictly language oriented, but because you talked about internalization, I'm wondering if you can comment on what's the current role or maybe attitude. Can you hear me, Iris?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, Iris, can you hear me now? Iris, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm wondering, in relation to internalization, what is the current attitude of German universities to, for example, become included in some international projects related to language teaching? Is it somehow organized, let's say, on more general level, or is it strictly university related? Can you a little bit comment on this, please?
So, if I got it right, it was a question on how language teaching is organized in German universities.
If universities are, I'm afraid we are cut now.
I'm so sorry, but I really can't understand what you're saying. I'm really so sorry. Perhaps you can use the chat.
Okay, I will try once again. Is there a possibility to start international cooperation with German universities now, or are they rather, focusing on the situation in Germany?
No, of course, German universities are quite interested in starting new international cooperations, and there's also a lot of fostering from different organizations to organize also international cooperation in the current times. So I think it's always worthwhile to start a cooperation, and you will, of course, find a lot of interest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iris. Are there any other questions? We have a bit of time.
Oh, we have a question. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, go ahead.
Iris, can you hear us?
Yes, more or less. I don't know what's happening because normally I do not have so many problems with my phones, but please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very clear. I was wondering, you were talking about the level of English, right, for students. I was wondering whether you had any issues with the level of German. Say, one of the issues that we'll be discussing shortly would be the level of the language for native speakers. So, is that something that your organization has actually been dealing with? That the level of German is not up to par for university levels or standards.
Yeah, well, the level of language knowledge is always issue of different discussions, and well, it's quite complex to answer to this question because it depends on whether you want to do a whole study career in Germany or whether you just want to be as a guest student there, and whether you want to attend a German course or a German study program or whether you want to attend a foreign language program. And there's also different regulations for different universities. And we also do have the discussion whether the language regulations always really do meet the requirements of the study program finally. So this is a shifting process right now. There's not an overall answer that really that I would be able to give to you. But we do have strong discussions on this because sometimes language requirements are so low that we would say, or experts would say, that they are not sufficient really to have the possibility to successfully study the whole program. Otherwise, the universities are arguing that students are doing better in the course of the years, and that they really want or not want to raise high walls against the interested students. So it's kind of difficult topic, I would say, at the very moment, but a very important one.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. If there are any other questions that people might have, could they send it to us or email you or something? Because we are now out of time, but there may still be people who want to keep in touch with Iris or have brilliant ideas later on. Would that be okay if people contact you, Iris?
Yeah, of course. Therefore, I put my email address. Unfortunately, now I will have to leave the workshop for a moment because I do have a very important other meeting.
Sure.
But please feel free to contact me, and I will provide you with every information you need.
Okay. Well, Iris, thank you. Your contribution is much appreciated. Very, very interesting topic. I should be facing the camera, I suppose. Yeah, so we let you go, and you can jump into it later on if you can, or you will see the recording. But from our side, thank you very much. Very stimulating ideas. I have a few questions too, but I will get in touch with you later on. Thanks very much, Iris.
Thank you very much.